Arx Fatalis is a really cool game, and one that was very impressionable for me as a child. Designed to be a spiritual successor to the Ultima Underworld series, it's you exploring a sprawling underground kingdom while stopping a cataclysmic catastrophe. Let me just preface here by saying, if you enjoyed Underworld and want more of it, then there's a high chance you'll enjoy Arx Fatalis. Arx Fatalis is a first-person RPG coupled with light horror elements. You'll be wandering around in gloomy architecture, armed with flakes of equipment all falling apart, and dim torches lighting your way to safety. You'll adventure into cities operated by different races, zones now unsafe due to invasive animals, and later on descend into the deepest levels of the underground to handle all sorts of horrible creatures and dangers. The story of Arx Fatalis is just plain awesome. The world, known as Exhausta, has completely frozen over due to its sun mysteriously and suddenly burning out. Forced to seek shelter underground, the different races of the realm came together to try and rebuild society within the deep reaches of the planet. The city of Arx was then founded, but shortly thereafter, the races became bitter and old feuds started to spur again. All the races separated into their own separate kingdoms within the same underground network. The game takes place in a giant connection of caverns inside of a mountain. You take the role of an amnesiac prisoner who has been knocked out and captured by the goblins. Taken to a cell, you break out and escape from your captors to try and discover who you are and what you were doing.
My memory, it's gone. I remember nothing. Not even my own name.
Updated my journal.
Along the way, you meet with several denizens of the realm and quickly learn the history behind Arx. You first respond, however, to a human fortress that has been assaulted by a mysterious group known as the Ilsids, and after conversing with the commander of the fort, you are given your first real task to head to the human city to alert the king of this invasion. The story takes a grander turn later on, but the game does not force you to have to respond to it immediately. There are light free-roaming aspects, and while the main storyline is linear, side quests are available for you to undertake. You do have the freedom to kill absolutely almost everyone, save one or two. This can hinder your progress immensely though, so you probably shouldn't for your first playthrough. Interestingly enough though, you can effectively sequence break almost every part of the game. You're able to access all levels of Arx as soon as you're able to reach them, and commence different parts of the main quest sooner than you were expected to. Success will vary, or you can just roam about and see what there is to do. For gameplay, you play in first-person perspective, exploring a horror-centered world. It's tense and eerie, turning every corner as you have no idea what's around them, with only your own footsteps to keep you company. Combat is functional and satisfying enough. Casting spells is good as hell, and even the world around you is unique, in that many props can be picked up and moved, and items are also littered about in hidden locations. There's dozens of secrets, and I still haven't found them all. There's even a treasure hunt hidden throughout the game that I've never solved either. If you have a fetish for inventory management in games, this game should make you wet. Not only must you rearrange your inventory to better fit the items you want to pick up, in order to use an item, you must open up your inventory belt and then activate the item, which makes you defenseless, by the way. It rewards proper placement of your goods to ensure your survival during a combat situation, like your potions being in a line or something. There is an auto sort button, but results will be wild to say the least. Have fun seeing two similar items be miles apart. You're also quite limited on space in the beginning. Don't be surprised if you have to go back for something you dropped later on. There's a light crafting system. You can repair your gear yourself at a cost of permanent durability going down. You can synthesize potions, identify items, and unlock doors and chests. You can enchant weapons and armor, but at the time this becomes relevant, you're sort of ahead of it anyways, so it's a bit of a letdown. Magic is one of the game's biggest highlights. You can collect different magical runes, each one is a word pertaining to something. How magic functions is, while you're moving about, you can enter a casting mode, where you now create gestures in the air to invoke the runes in combination to form their magical spells. So say you want to light a torch, you would chain together which means create, and yoke, which means fire, create fire, and other spells like Mega Vitae, improve life, which heals you. Acquiring runes automatically shows you the spells you can cast with them. Casting magic is very satisfying, though the mouse movement system is very finicky and doesn't respond so well when you need it to most. The wordplay system functions very similarly to Ultima Underworld's, and while you can actually guess spells that you don't know yet, you still actually need the runes to cast them, an unfortunate lost potential of the system. Combat is handled in a simple fashion. Melee involves you charging your attacks and striking at the right moment to damage the enemy, whilst evading their own. Range is the same, just now you hit them from afar. Magic is your classic wizardry hobnobbery, where you cast magic missile and watch some blue shit fly. It's all very basic, but it can be challenging at certain moments, and the very last enemies in the game will start to tear your face apart if you don't handle them correctly. Stealth works, but its applications are so few and far between, it just doesn't do a whole lot. You've got full control over your stat progression. The 4 attributes are supplemented by 9 skills, and you've got a slew of points to mess around with at character creation. In general, you're kind of ham-fisted into the 3 classical fantasy roles of warrior, rogue, or wizard. I would personally advise against a stealth-based character. I beat my first run with it, and it was miserable as fuck. Magic is necessary at different components of the game, so there's a bit of bias towards it right off the bat. However, even if you aren't able to cast the required spells at the required moments, you usually are provided with a scroll for the necessary spell at some point in your journey, so even the magically inept can proceed without difficulty. And speaking of stressful requirements, the game has limited resources. What I mean by that is almost everything in the game is finite. Things have durability, and you're not able to fully repair it infinitely. So you'll either repair it into oblivion, or you'll run out of gold talking to the blacksmith. There's limited items hanging around, NPCs rarely respawn, which also means there's a finite pool of EXP. So hilariously, if you want to reach level cap, you have to start hunting down every little rodent to squeeze all the EXP out of them. You may even have to resort to killing innocents to fill out, though most bulk of the experience is gained by completing quests. The graphical design of the game was good enough for its time. Rivaling the looks of something like Morrowind, everything is presentable and easy to look at. Each of the races carry their own unique style with them, but for the most part, the civilized areas are covered in bricks, and the rest of the world is nothing but dirt. The designs of the monsters are pretty basic and simple, but very identifiable, making them comfortable to look at. The music is mostly just ambient tracks, but they help set the tone perfectly when you're spelunking into the lower levels, seeing the walls covered in God knows what, and hoping you don't come across whatever made them look like that. The simple sounds of air blowing through, coupled with a few notes just playing continuously, can really put you on edge. Have fun exploring the crypt. The voice acting is varied.
My name is Shigar.
Pleased to meet you, handsome.
Akbar.
Come on over and have a drink. Take a load off. Everything's for sale, my friend.
The trolls live 1 level below us. You may have encountered them already.
Maybe we could be friends. This is ridiculous.
Overall, Arx Fatalis is probably one of the more unique games out there. Its game mechanics are those of a simple RPG, but its atmosphere and environment are of particular interest and something you want to see more of the farther you get into it. Available on Steam and GOG, it can be a pretty short game if you just follow the main questline, but it should be enough to tie you over with. And given that it's merely a few bucks to go on this abandoned mine tour, you probably wouldn't lose much to give it a shot.